This meeting is the meeting of the Tennessee Higher Education Commission. We are called to order. Thank you all for being here virtually. As you can imagine, since we're all virtual, we'll first do a roll call. Madam Secretary will call the roll, and please state whether there's anyone else in the room with you. Madam Secretary.
Chairwoman Scarlett.
I'm here. No one is in the room.
Commissioner Allman.
Present. No one is with me.
What do you wear?
Julia Dieter.
Sweater.
Commissioner Matlock. Commissioner Perry.
Present. No one is with me.
Commissioner Rader.
Present. No one is in the car with me.
Commissioner Ragsdale.
Present, and I'm by myself.
Commissioner Smith.
Present, and no one is here with me.
Commissioner Stafford.
Present, and no one is here with me.
Commissioner Wood.
Present, and no one is in the car with me either.
Secretary Hargett.
Present, no one else here.
Treasurer Lillard.
Here, and no one else is here with me.
Comptroller Mumpower.
Here, I'm in the room by myself.
Commissioner Morrison.
Also here, also alone.
Chairwoman, you have 11 voting members present and 12 members present.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Our first item on the agenda is to adopt the agenda. With no questions or objections, I'll entertain a motion in a second to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Excellent. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Chairwoman Scarlett.
Aye.
Commissioner Allman.
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter. Commissioner Dieter, I see you on here. Are you able to unmute?
Yes, I'm in a loud area right now. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Matlock. Commissioner Perry.
Aye.
Commissioner Rader.
Aye.
Commissioner Ragsdale.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Stafford.
Aye.
Commissioner Wood. Commissioner Wood.
Aye.
Secretary Hargett.
Aye.
Treasurer Lillard.
Aye.
Comptroller Mumpower.
Yes.
Chairwoman, you have 12 ayes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you all. Dr. Gentile, do we have any public comment that needs to be addressed?
No, Madam Chair. No public comment today.
All right, well, let's roll into our big agenda item, which is the 2025-2035 Strategic Higher Education Master Plan. Dr. Gentile will provide us an overview of the plan, and Amanda Clefane, Chief Strategy Officer, will present the plan itself. Dr. Gentile, you are recognized.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm going to treat this in a what has changed since November from a high level. And Amanda is going to come in and go more into those details. We're hoping to be able to get through them relatively quickly today on this Friday afternoon. Since we met in November, we have changed 3 substantial elements of this master plan. One is there's a more clear and direct vision statement on the front end. This is after going back and forth as to whether we should have a big, hairy, audacious goal in this master plan or hold on and wait until the next governor comes in. Where we landed in consultation with talking to the chairwoman and others is to have a clear vision statement that at least in the very much points in the direction of where we need to go in the next 10 years. And I'm going to hold off until Amanda presents on that vision statement. Number 2, this bit of feedback was led by Chair Scarlett, but others as well said so, that the plan could use more readability, especially to a lay audience that might include legislators, those in the public. So we have done that. We have streamlined language We have added student vignettes to the master plan to make it more readable and relatable. And we've also put in, especially towards the end, a stronger so what and what's next. And number 3, this bit of feedback came from Commissioner Bob Smith, but we've heard others speak to this as well. There's a lot in the master plan that speaks to workforce ready skills, and there's a parallel conversation that's related to workforce skills, but can oftentimes be overlooked, and that's in relation to durable skills. Maybe not so technical skills, but durable skills. Durable skills being critical thinking, problem solving, communication. We felt initially that that was implicit in our master plan. We make that more explicit. And in conversations we've had since November, we've beefed that up in the master plan. We had a meeting with Commissioner Denise Thomas of the Department of Labor and Workforce Development to see how we can be in alignment with how they speak about it in that area. And so that's the biggest change with regards to durable skills. For now, I'd like to turn it over to Amanda Clefane to go into more details. Amanda?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for being here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to walk through just a couple of slides. Some of this is going to look familiar to folks, if everybody can see my screen now. Stephen really just gave a great preamble to what has changed since we met in November and spoke about the strategic plan.
Hey, Amanda, I'm going to interrupt you real quick. It's not in presentation mode, just so you know.
It is not. Okay. I'm seeing it in presentation mode.
Okay.
Oh, no.
It's not, but I think we can understand how it looks with just this mode.
Okay. So as Stephen mentioned, where we have landed is setting up a vision statement that is really going to help us over this next year drive towards what is that next drive to 55 as we prepare for some various changes in the state of Tennessee. And so what I'd like to do first is read this vision statement that you all have seen in the plan itself, really centering and rallying this master plan, which is that every Tennessean can earn a credential that leads to lifelong success in a stronger Tennessee. As we've been talking about since late spring, really the focus has been on value. How is it that we, as the higher education enterprise in Tennessee, can improve value for Tennesseans and for the state? And we really think that this statement here helps to sort of centralize and organize a lot of the things that you are familiar with that are kind of the cornerstones to this plan. I'm just going to briefly remind folks, we have our 3 A's, our 3 cornerstones to become a higher education system that is better aligned, more achievable, and more agile. As a reminder that this is really structured so that we have our cornerstones, our objectives. One moment, please, sorry.
Amanda, we're on the aligned one right now. We see that. And you're on mute.
Apologies for the technical difficulties, folks. All right. I think that you all are seeing my screen now, and hopefully in a slide deck form. What is, as you mentioned, there are the 3 cornerstones, and within each cornerstone, we have 3 objectives and then a series of strategies, which are outlined really in the breadth of the document itself. Where I'd like to focus my energy, though, this afternoon is really delving into the call to action, recognizing that we, as higher education, are going to be not just creating a master plan, but really designing to implement this plan, to make this actionable, to use it in our everyday and to have it inform our practice. So the first thing I want to highlight is the first step, which is really disseminating this plan. We have been really strategic about engaging a series of stakeholders, a wide array of stakeholders throughout the past year on the creation of this plan. Higher education institutions, both public and private, our state agency partners and others, being able to inform not only what are the priorities that you've seen outlined in this plan, but also where are we headed and what are they needing as we look ahead for the next decade. So we really need to get this plan out there. We need to ensure that this is something that is sort of entrenched in our everyday conversation, and that the various stakeholders that are not only impacted by the plan, but that are going to help inform and implement the plan are deeply aware of it. The second step is around measurement. And this is something that came up in a lot of the feedback conversations that I've had over the past couple of weeks, which is really in thinking through how is it that we are going to measure our progress on this plan. What we have outlined in the plan itself are a handful of key metrics. These are really designed to be suggestions and ideas as we are moving ahead over this next year. What we want to do in close partnership with our higher education institutions, state agency partners, and others is really delve in deeply to the measures that we're going to use to regularly update bodies like yourselves, our statutory committee, and others to how we're making progress on this plan. This also aligns with something that I think we've brought up in previous committee meetings around the Lumina Attainment Collaborative. Tennessee is one of 13 states participating in this collaborative. This is really where we're hoping to develop and form our next Drive to 55 goal. And it's something that I would expect this group to continue to get updated on throughout the next year, bringing together, again, a lot of these stakeholders for measurement throughout 2026. Application of the plan. As we've spoken about in the past, this is Tennessee's strategic higher education plan. This is not the Higher Education Commission's plan specifically. And so what we really need to be thinking about is how is it that our institutions are going to take this up and embed this into their everyday work? They are critical partners and collaborators. This plan cannot move forward without their support and contribution. And so one thing that we have been thinking a lot about is how are we going to revamp things like our institution mission profiles? These are one of the tools that we use to better understand the distinctiveness and offerings that many of our campuses have. They're also used to help inform things like our outcomes-based funding formula, as well as new academic program approval. So leveraging these plans to really help ensure there's a local application of this plan on campuses. And that's something we'll be working on developing a protocol and some interview materials over the spring in order to really have these one-on-one conversations with our campuses in the summer and fall. The other key element to this, and some things that are actively happening, is around policy alignment. As many of you know, the master plan and the outcomes-based funding formula have the same statutory review committee. We also have a series of other policies that lean on the master plan as a go-to source, not only for our campuses, but for others to progress the work forward. And so what we'll be doing over this next short-term and long-term period is ensuring that not only our policies, but programs and practices are aligning with the plan itself. Again, really getting back to both that dissemination and application. And then finally, we want to be continuing to assess and iterate on this plan. This is a 10-year plan. We do believe we've written it in a way to help not only guide us in the short and long term, but we've also designed this so that it can be iterated and evolved upon. Things are rapidly changing, whether that's through artificial intelligence or landscape that we are operating in. We need to be able to be nimble or agile in order to be sure that higher education remains responsive and, quite frankly, proactive ahead of these various changes. And so what we want to be doing is leveraging those measures and otherwise to be bringing you all updates on an annual basis, but also as we think about reimagining our statutory review committee. Historically, we've not done the greatest job of continuing to reflect on the master plan and its progress. What we'd like to commit to as this next step is really thinking through it, at minimum an annual cadence with which we're providing meaningful progress updates on this plan and assessing whether we're continuing to head in the right direction or if there have been new or emerging challenges that we are facing. And so I'm really excited for 2026 and what we have to do as we think about not only just getting this plan out there, but really making it actionable for our students and families across the state. With that, I would like to open up the floor to any discussion, and I might go ahead and just stop sharing my screen since it seems like maybe having technical difficulties with that as it is. So I'm going to do that. Thank you.
What sort of questions does everyone have? Vernon,
Chairwoman,
if
this
you're
is Sarah
talking to
Morrison.
us, you are muted.
Yep, sorry. Chairman Scarlett, no questions on my part. I think from my perspective, the plan really captures the essence of what we're trying to achieve for our state and for our citizens. So I'm very pleased with the adjustments that have been made to it.
You.
Sarah?
Yes, I was just going to get the conversation started with a few comments as well. I really liked the revised vision statement. I know Stephen and I had talked about that, and Amanda, I think that really just focuses the plan in a way that's easy to digest out of the gate. So I thought that was a really smart revision and appreciated the focus on, the credentials of value and attaining that for our state and for our students. We are wrestling with our own master plan, as you all have had to listen to me talk about over the last few meetings. And we met recently about measurements in particular. And I think that is just, I'll be really interested to work alongside you all as you work through that in 2026. So I think it's really important, and it's also difficult to put, measures in a plan or related to a plan that are trying to track progress and outcomes. And as I've told my board, I really think a big part of, and the reason to do that is not because we have a crystal ball and we can imagine exactly where we're going to land, but the fact that we have a goal and that we're tracking towards it forces us to look at our data really carefully every year and talk publicly about it. And I do think that'll be important for this body as well, to just be, to put a stake in the ground on some of these things that matter and, watch and track and iterate, as you said, but I think that'll be a really healthy process. A couple other points of intersection. I was really glad to see, Stephen, as we've talked about, trying to bring our boards together. We're not required to do that anymore, but I think it's more and more important that we find meaningful ways, whether it's through retreats or other activities, that we can bring our board together in full or in part. So I look forward to follow-up conversations on that. Things like dual enrollment, dual admissions, so much of this work has to be done collectively and collaboratively from, K-12 through higher ed and post-secondary and beyond the workforce, that I just think they're going to help a lot of opportunities to continue to collaborate. So I think the plan really reflected that in my view.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
I cannot see everyone on my screen, so if you have your hand up or want to talk.
Chairman, I do not see another hand up.
Really? Okay, I guess that's a good sign. I just kind of tie some loops there. A couple things. One, Amanda, you were talking about improvement with the process and looking back at where you've been, and maybe kind of having that very frank conversation with ourselves, say whether we've done a good job with certain things. This concept of bringing in continuous improvement loops, I think, is really important. And I would say I don't see enough in this sort of work. And I think that being able to create, whether that's process improvement loops or looking at the innovations that are happening, like how do we consistently evolve as opposed to having these plans that lie on a shelf for 10 years and then we go back and say, hey, what worked, what didn't work? So incorporating that as you go, I think is really beneficial. And to touch on what Sarah was mentioning, the collaborative approaches, not only what we have seen over the past couple of years, certainly within this process and beyond, and also the cross-departmental measurement, maybe, Sarah, you were mentioning that, kind of how do we at a broad level in education, making sure that all of our students are set up for best success to step into the jobs that we have today and tomorrow. All of those, I think, are just really important pieces that I want to highlight. I do want to bring up one thing that I would encourage us to find some more simplified metrics. We've got 22 key metrics. That's a lot to measure. Really needs to come down to like one or two things that truly are, what is the number one thing that, or two things that we know will be successful in 10 years? There's a call out on page 2, which talk about the critical measures for Tennessee higher education, talks about post-secondary holders. There's a 14% gap, for example. There's an AI comment when it comes to what's happening next in education and what we don't know. And then also the need to increase on-time completion. All of that is the key metrics all lead into those higher level metrics, but I think it's important to have one or two as opposed to 22. So it's just food for thought.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll incorporate that into the iterating aspects of where we're going with the goals. Thank you.
Anyone else have any other comments?
This is Charles Wood, and I'm sorry I'm off camera. But
Okay.
I want to thank Dr. Gentile and Amanda for the hard work that went into this. I'm pretty excited about it. Since I'm still relatively new to the commission, and I know there's some conversations around new administration coming in. How does this start to get kind of disseminated? How does it get communicated? And then with the new governor and new administration in place, are there steps or processes for them to be able to kind of provide some feedback and thoughts? I'm just kind of curious to kind of the now what after this is done, at least at this point.
Yes, I'll start and then I might ask Stephen with any additional follow-up. But we are working right now on the formal, like the laid out version of this plan. And the vision is really to be sharing widely, Commissioner Wood. So part of that is getting this into the hands of a lot of our higher education stakeholders across our campuses, but then also our state agency partners and peers. And so you all may recall there was a bifold sort of document that was released at this trustees event as sort of a summary, kind of high level takeaway. These things are going to be printed and shared as a really key part of this, but then also presentations and other opportunities to make direct connection with various constituencies on this front. In fact, next week we do have some time scheduled in front of House Education to talk about the master plan, which I'm really looking forward to as a means to really start to familiarize members who were engaged in this process early on, but where we've landed ultimately. And so there will be a lot of conversations and sharing of the plan in the short term. And then I do have some ideas around our engagement as we get closer into the summer, but I'll turn it to Stephen up there.
Yeah, I also want to highlight that for those who went to the trustees convening back in October, Dr. Paul Friga was from UNC Chapel Hill, help us through some of the sessions. He does strategic planning. We intend to work with him throughout this year to help us get this embedded into the institutions. We mentioned the institutional mission profiles. So we have a plan scoped out for how we get this into the hands and start changing practices and how they relate to what the commission does with institutions. She did mention the House Education Committee. Were you not to approve the master plan today, we'd provide an update next week to them on where we are with it. But if you do, we'll provide a more in-depth detail about what the master plan is. Regarding the administration that might be coming in, when it is appropriate, and we would look for guidance from this commission, when it is appropriate, we would engage with the incoming gubernatorial elected official on what this master plan is and how it got to where it is, but also stress that this is a living document intended to be malleable to meet the needs of the day as we progress through this next decade. But it is on our plan to have that meeting as soon as it is practicable and the right time for it. Commissioner Wood, does that get to your question?
It does. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Amanda and Stephen, I know this has been quite a journey for both of you and your team, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate the work and the effort that's gone into this. And I think on behalf of the commission, looking at a document that has come so far where compared to where it was even just a year ago and rethinking where we have been and where we want to go, I really applaud the work that you all have put in. Certainly the amount of time I know Amanda has put into this, but certainly you, Stephen, and your entire team. So very much thank you for the effort put into this.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I want to give a special thanks to Amanda and the team that she brought together internally to get us to this point, and the institutions and stakeholders for it too. And also, Amanda, should this pass today, we are bringing into the new world a master plan, and she's 4 weeks away from bringing in the new world her own baby. So, Amanda,
Yes.
thank you so much for everything.
Yes, thank you all. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate folks meeting on this Friday afternoon as well to discuss this in detail.
Any other questions or comments that we might have? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion in a second to approve the 2025-2035 Strategic Higher Education Master Plan.
Motion for approval?
Second.
Madam Secretary, can you please call the roll?
Chairwoman Scarlett,
Aye.
Commissioner Allman,
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter,
Aye.
Commissioner Matlock, Commissioner Perry,
Aye.
Commissioner Rader,
Aye.
Commissioner Ragsdale,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Stafford,
Aye.
Commissioner Wood,
Aye.
Secretary Hargett, Treasurer Lillard,
Aye.
Comptroller Mumpower.
Yes.
Chairwoman, you have 12 ayes.
Stephen and Amanda, congratulations.
Thank you.
I-
Thank you all.
From a dissemination standpoint, I know we talked about sharing a lot of this at a broad level. I'd love to hear, before we move forward with other business, what the plans are from operating, thinking about this from an operations standpoint over the next 1 to 3 years.
So I highlighted a few of the things that we're thinking through in the more immediate term. What I'd like to develop, and I think this is something I'd like to do in consultation perhaps with you, Chair Scarlett, is what sorts of cadence we would like to have an annual update to this body for. I'm thinking in a lot of ways around how we're integrating this plan into our day-to-day practices. And so there's aspects of linking concepts across our commission meeting materials and otherwise, but also in bringing updates to this group. There are some meaningful plans around measurement and that application of the plan that I think are going to be in the next 6 to 8 months, really. But what's ahead, I think, is needing to put and establish some routine to bringing these updates not only to this body, but to the statutory committee and others. So those are my initial reactions, but I will defer to Stephen if there's anything further.
Yeah, a couple of things. I've been saying to some of you when we've met, but we'll say to all that I remember a few years ago meeting with some representatives from an institution, and they asked us, hey, what is your policy agenda ahead of you? And quite frankly, at the time, we didn't have anything to speak to. This is coming out of the pandemic, and we were and some multiple leadership changes, a bit rudderless at that time. What this is for the next 1 to 3 years, but also beyond that, is this is our policy agenda. This is our research agenda. We're already seeing it right now. I sent earlier this week on Monday a draft bill that has a lot in it that's not related to our responsibilities and our duties, but a couple things that reinforces the need for us to be that alignment holder between community colleges, TCATs, and universities when it comes to transfer and articulation, as an example. Putting prize and focus on making sure that our institutions are transfer friendly as an example. This master plan is to build out that policy agenda and that research agenda. And again, to be malleable over time, for sure. But that is what we'll be working on immediately this year to scope out for your guidance and ultimately support and direction.
Great, thank you very much for that input. Any other business? Anyone have any additional business you'd like to talk about? Okay, hearing none, this concludes our agenda. The next regular scheduled meeting we have will be Friday, February 20th. If there's no further business, we stand adjourned. Congratulations.